After 65, just do nothing and it will save your life. Reaching 65 is a milestone, one that many of us look forward to as the start of the golden years. It's the time we've imagined for decades, a chance to relax, step back from the pressures of work, and finally enjoy the freedom we've worked so hard to achieve. For many, it means retirement, a world where we're no longer bound by schedules, deadlines, or responsibilities. But as freeing as retirement may sound, it often comes with a surprising sense of restlessness, disconnection, and even confusion about what to do next. You might think, I've earned this. This should be the easy part. But for many of us, it doesn't quite feel that way. Instead of waking up with a sense of purpose, we sometimes feel lost. The days, once packed with meetings, family obligations, and projects, now stretch out in front of us with no clear direction. And that, for many, can be disorienting. If you felt this way, you're not alone. You may have spent hours trying to fill the time, flipping through TV channels, scrolling endlessly through your phone, starting projects you never finish, or even feeling like you're just floating through the day. Perhaps you've thought, is this really what life after 65 is supposed to feel like? I know that feeling. I've been there. And if you're feeling disconnected or unsure of how to move forward in this new chapter, I want to share something that completely transformed my life after 65. It might sound simple, and it might even sound counterintuitive, but trust me, just do nothing. Yes, nothing. Sometimes the most important thing you can do for yourself is to stop, sit in stillness, and allow yourself to simply be. Doing nothing may seem like the opposite of what we're taught, but it can actually be the key to finding peace, reconnecting with yourself, and rediscovering the joy in life. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The unexpected disconnection of retirement. Most of us spend the better part of our lives in go mode, constantly moving, doing, achieving. For decades, our lives are defined by work, responsibilities, family, and obligations. We wake up with a list of things to do and go to bed with thoughts of what still needs to be done. We measure our success by how productive we are, how much we accomplish, and how well we take care of those around us. So when we finally reach 65, when the busyness stops and the demands fall away, we expect to feel relief. But for many, retirement brings something unexpected, a sense of disconnection. Without the structure of a job or the daily responsibilities that once consumed us, we can feel like we're floating aimlessly through time. The days, which were once busy and filled, now feel long and empty. Sure, we have more time, but what do we do with it? What happens when the retirement we've dreamed of doesn't match the reality we're living? Part of the challenge comes from the sudden absence of structure. After years of following a routine, we find ourselves with endless free time, but no clear direction. In an attempt to fill the void, we often turn to distractions, watching hours of television, scrolling through social media, or finding ways to keep busy. But the more we distract ourselves, the more disconnected we feel. The truth is, no amount of external entertainment or busyness can fill the internal sense of loss that comes with stepping away from a lifetime of purpose-driven activity. I experienced this firsthand. After retiring, I thought I would relish the freedom of having no schedule. I imagined I'd fill my days with things I enjoyed, hobbies, spending time with family, maybe traveling. But as the days stretched on, I found myself stuck in a cycle of mindless distractions. I'd spend hours flipping through TV channels, browsing the internet, or scrolling through my phone. The more I distracted myself, the more restless I became. Nothing seemed to satisfy that lingering sense of emptiness. And then something unexpected happened. One day, I turned off the TV, put down my phone, and just sat in the quiet. No distractions, no noise, just me, sitting still. At first, it felt strange. My mind raced with thoughts about what I should be doing. But I stayed with it. I allowed myself to sit in the discomfort of doing nothing. And after a few minutes, something surprising happened. My mind began to settle, and I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't experienced in a long time. The power of doing nothing. At first glance, the idea of doing nothing might seem counterintuitive. We've spent the majority of our lives working, taking care of others, and constantly being on the go. The notion of sitting still, without an agenda, feels almost foreign, especially after decades of living in a world that values productivity and action above all else. But the truth is, after 65, the most powerful thing you can do for yourself may very well be to do nothing. When I first retired, I was surprised by the restlessness that set in. With no meetings to attend, no urgent deadlines to meet, and no children to care for, I thought I would relish the newfound freedom. But instead of feeling relaxed, I felt uneasy. I would wake up, have my breakfast, and then wander around the house, wondering what to do with myself. I tried filling the time with distractions, television, news, scrolling through my phone, but no matter what I did, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. One day, after yet another morning spent mindlessly flipping through channels, I decided to try something different. I turned off the TV, set aside my phone, and just sat there in the quiet. No distractions, no background noise, just me, alone with my thoughts. At first, it felt uncomfortable. My mind was racing with 1,000 thoughts. Shouldn't I be doing something? Am I wasting time? I felt the pull of habit urging me to get up and find something to occupy my mind, but I resisted. I stayed with the discomfort, sitting in silence. As the minutes passed, something began to shift. The noise in my mind started to quiet. I noticed the gentle sound of the wind outside, the warmth of the sun on my face, and the stillness of the room around me. In that moment of doing nothing, I found a sense of peace that had eluded me for months. The restlessness faded, replaced by a feeling of calm and clarity. It was as if my mind had been given a chance to breathe after years of constant stimulation. The power of doing nothing lies in its simplicity. When we stop trying to fill every moment with activity, we create space for our minds to settle. We give ourselves permission to step away from the distractions and busyness that often cloud our thoughts. In that stillness, we reconnect with ourselves in a way that is both grounding and restorative. For so many of us, the thought of doing nothing feels unproductive, like we're wasting time. But in reality, stillness is one of the most valuable things we can offer ourselves, especially after a lifetime of work and obligations. It allows us to break free from the cycle of constant stimulation and reset our minds. It's not about being lazy or disengaged. It's about being intentional with how we spend our time and energy. When I embraced the practice of doing nothing, I noticed profound changes in my daily life. Tasks that had once felt overwhelming, organizing the house, making calls to friends, or even tackling long-neglected projects, now seemed more approachable. Without the mental clutter of distractions, I found myself motivated to take action. But the action didn't come from a place of stress or obligation. It came from a place of clarity and calm. Doing nothing also helped me rediscover the small, simple joys that I had overlooked for so long. I began to appreciate the beauty of a quiet morning, the pleasure of sitting in the garden, or the satisfaction of finishing a good book. These moments, which I had once taken for granted, became the highlights of my day. By allowing myself to stop and be present, I reconnected with the things that truly brought me joy. The power of doing nothing isn't about retreating from life. It's about re-engaging with it in a more mindful and meaningful way. In stillness, we give ourselves the gift of presence. We allow our minds to rest, our thoughts to settle, and our hearts to open to the experiences that matter most. And as we embrace this practice, we begin to see that life doesn't have to be filled with noise and activity to be fulfilling. Sometimes, the most profound moments of peace and purpose come when we simply allow ourselves to be. Reevaluating what really matters. As I continued to practice moments of stillness, I began to reevaluate what truly mattered to me. In the busyness of life, it's easy to lose sight of the things that bring us real joy and fulfillment. We get caught up in the hustle, the obligations, the pressures of daily life, and we forget to ask ourselves, what do I really want? What makes me feel alive? For years, I had been telling myself that I would spend my retirement doing the things I loved: gardening, reading, spending time with family, traveling. But in reality, I had spent more time distracting myself than engaging with the things that truly mattered. I was watching TV, not because I enjoyed it, but because it was easy. I was browsing social media, not because I cared about what I was seeing, but because it kept my mind occupied. In those moments of stillness, I started to reconnect with my true passions. I remembered how much I loved working in the garden, feeling the dirt between my fingers, watching things grow. I remembered the joy of losing myself in a good book or the warmth of sharing a conversation with a loved one. These simple pleasures, which I had once taken for granted, began to feel rich with meaning again. Instead of filling my time with mindless distractions, I started making intentional choices. I spent time outside tending to my garden. I picked up books that had been sitting on my shelf for years. I called friends and family, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to connect. These weren't dramatic changes, but they were meaningful. And they brought me back to the things that made me feel alive. Breaking the dopamine trap. In today's world, we're surrounded by constant sources of entertainment and stimulation, whether it's television, social media, or the endless stream of news. It's easy to spend hours flipping through channels, browsing the internet, or scrolling through our phones. At first, these activities seem harmless, even enjoyable. They give us something to do, filling the quiet moments with instant engagement. But over time, this constant stimulation begins to have a deeper effect on our minds and our sense of well-being. It's a phenomenon known as the dopamine trap. Dopamine is the brain's feel-good chemical. It's released when we do something pleasurable, like eating a delicious meal, laughing with friends, or experiencing something exciting. In healthy doses, dopamine helps us enjoy life. It motivates us to seek out rewarding experiences, to connect with others, and to pursue the things that bring us joy. But when we're constantly bombarding ourselves with high dopamine activities, such as watching TV, playing video games, or consuming digital media, it can lead to an overstimulated brain that craves more and more stimulation just to feel satisfied. The problem with this kind of overstimulation is that it rewires the way our brains process pleasure. When we rely on quick dopamine hits from things like social media or television, our baseline levels of dopamine rise. As a result, the simple, quieter pleasures of life, like reading a book, taking a walk, or having a conversation, start to feel less enjoyable. We become trapped in a cycle of chasing that next hit of dopamine, seeking more and more stimulation to maintain the same level of satisfaction. For many of us, this dopamine trap sneaks up gradually, especially after retirement. With more free time and fewer obligations, it's tempting to fill the day with easy entertainment, watching TV, scrolling through social media, or catching up on the latest news. These activities give us a quick burst of dopamine, providing temporary enjoyment, but they leave us feeling restless and unsatisfied in the long run. Over time, the things that once brought deep fulfillment, like hobbies, relationships, or personal projects, can start to feel like chores compared to the instant gratification of high dopamine activities. This is why so many people, even after retiring, feel a sense of emptiness despite having all the time in the world to enjoy life. The dopamine trap tricks us into thinking we're relaxing, when in reality, we're numbing ourselves to the richness of life's quieter moments. Instead of finding peace in the simple joys, we find ourselves constantly reaching for the remote, the phone, or the computer, searching for something to fill the void. But here's the good news. We can break free from the dopamine trap. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight, but with intention and practice, we can retrain our brains to find pleasure in the slower, more meaningful aspects of life. It starts with recognizing the cycle we've fallen into and making a conscious effort to step away from the constant stimulation. When I first realized I had fallen into the dopamine trap, it was a wake up call. I had been spending hours each day watching TV, scrolling through my phone, and filling my time with distractions, all the while feeling less and less satisfied. The moment I turned off those distractions and allowed myself to sit in stillness, I realized how overstimulated my brain had become. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost like my mind was searching for something to latch onto. But over time, that discomfort began to fade. As I continued to embrace moments of stillness and reduced my reliance on high dopamine activities, something incredible happened. I started to enjoy the simple things again. I found pleasure in reading a book, working in the garden, or having a meaningful conversation with a loved one. These activities, which had once felt less stimulating compared to the constant flood of entertainment, began to feel fulfilling in a deeper, more lasting way. My brain was no longer craving the quick dopamine hits that came from constant stimulation. It was recalibrating to appreciate the quieter, more natural pleasures of life. Breaking free from the dopamine trap also allowed me to be more present in my relationships. Instead of feeling the urge to check my phone during a conversation or switch on the TV as soon as I sat down, I found myself fully engaged in the moment. I listened more intently, connected more deeply, and felt a sense of fulfillment that no amount of screen time could replicate. The process of breaking the dopamine trap isn't about eliminating all forms of entertainment or stimulation from your life. It's about creating balance, allowing your brain to reset and find joy in the moments that don't require a screen, a remote, or a constant stream of updates. It's about learning to appreciate the stillness, the silence, and the beauty of life's quieter pleasures. When we step away from the dopamine driven cycle of constant stimulation, we rediscover what truly matters. We reconnect with the things that bring us lasting joy, spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies that make us feel alive, and finding peace in the natural rhythm of life. And in doing so, we free ourselves from the trap that keeps us chasing empty distractions, allowing us to experience life more fully, more richly, and with a greater sense of purpose. The long-term benefits of stillness. The benefits of doing nothing aren't just short-term, they're long-lasting. As I continued to embrace moments of stillness, I noticed profound changes in my overall well-being. My mind felt clearer, my body more relaxed, and my relationships deeper and more fulfilling. The sense of disconnection I had once felt was replaced with a sense of peace and purpose. One of the most noticeable changes was in my sleep. For years, I had struggled with insomnia. My mind would race at night, replaying the events of the day or worrying about what tomorrow would bring. But as I practiced stillness, my mind became quieter. I learned to let go of the day's stress and enter into a more peaceful state before bed. And as a result, I began to sleep better. Deeper and more restorative sleep that left me feeling refreshed in the morning. I also noticed improvements in my physical health. Stress, as we know, has a profound effect on the body. It raises blood pressure, weakens the immune system, and leaves us vulnerable to illness. But as I reduced stress through stillness, I found that my body responded in kind. I had more energy, fewer aches and pains, and a greater sense of vitality. I felt more in tune with my body's needs, whether it was the need to move, rest, or nourish myself with healthy food. But perhaps the most profound change was in my relationships. As I practiced being present with myself, I found it easier to be present with others. I became more engaged in conversations, more attuned to the needs of my loved ones, and more connected to the people around me. I realized that relationships are not just about spending time together, but about truly being present in those moments, listening, caring, and connecting on a deeper level. Finding new purpose after 65. One of the biggest challenges of retirement is finding a new sense of purpose. For so many years, our identities are tied to our careers, our roles as parents or caregivers, and the responsibilities that define our daily lives. But when those roles change, it's easy to feel a sense of loss or confusion. Who are we now that we're no longer defined by our work or our responsibilities? What gives our lives meaning when we're no longer tied to a job or a role within the family? For many, this is the most difficult aspect of retirement. Without the structure of work, we can feel like we've lost a part of ourselves. But here's the thing: retirement isn't the end of purpose, it's the beginning of a new chapter. It's an opportunity to rediscover what truly matters to us and to define our lives on our own terms. As I embraced moments of stillness, I began to see that purpose doesn't have to be tied to work or productivity. It doesn't have to be about achieving something grand. Purpose can be found in the simple, everyday moments of life. Spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply being present in the world. For me, purpose became about connection with myself, with others, and with the world around me. I found meaning in the small acts of kindness, in nurturing my relationships, and in taking care of my own well being. I realized that purpose isn't something we achieve, it's something we cultivate in every moment, no matter how small. And as I embraced this new understanding of purpose, my days became more fulfilling. I no longer felt the need to fill my time with distractions or busy work. Instead, I found joy in the simple moments, whether it was sharing a meal with my family, taking a walk in the park, or spending quiet time in reflection. These moments, once overlooked, became the essence of my life after 65. Conclusion: the beauty of doing nothing. If you're feeling restless, disconnected, or unsure of how to move forward in this new chapter of life, I encourage you to try something different. Instead of filling your time with distractions or chasing after the next task, allow yourself to do nothing. Turn off the TV, put down your phone, and sit in the quiet. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but in that discomfort, you'll find something beautiful: clarity, peace, and a renewed sense of purpose. Doing nothing doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean being lazy or unproductive. It means giving yourself the space to reconnect with what truly matters. It means allowing your mind and body to rest, to reset, and to find joy in the simple moments of life. After 65, just do nothing. It might just save your life and help you rediscover the joy of truly living. If you like this video, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more valuable content on aging gracefully and living a fulfilling life together. We can celebrate the beauty of aging and inspire others to do the same.